Friends, welcome back. I'm Jason, and this is the Camillus Swedge knife. Me and my buddy Shane, we're gonna do a survival course down in Alabama with SE Knives, Randall's Adventure and Training. And what we decided to do to make the challenge even more difficult is we were gonna use broken knives. So I think it was an SE5, I forget what kind of knife it was, one of the SE knives that was literally broken in half. There was only about 1.5 inches left of the knife. And so what I did was I sharpened it up, obviously, and then with that flat edge, I put a chisel grind on the end, just like this one right here. And we called it the bush chisel, and it was actually pretty dang handy. I mean, it worked for all the things. I was able to carve and cut and scratch and scour, and it came in really handy when we were making a trebuchet. That was one of the challenges of the course, was to build a trebuchet, and the chisel end right there was actually pretty handy for notching and being able to fit things precisely together for something like that. So my question for you guys is this, well, first of all, did they steal my idea? No, I doubt it. After we made the bush chisel, I quickly realized that it wasn't a new idea. It wasn't a novel idea. I think, who else? Not just Camillus here. I think this is newer. This came out after my bush chisel, I think. But Mora Knives, I think, has some sort of knife chisel combo, something like that had already been out. So unfortunately, it's not how I'm going to make my millions off of the bush chisel. But my question for you guys is this a quality? Is this a handy tool to have in the woods? I think it'd be pretty dang handy to have on the job site, you know. I mean, you need a knife. I'm always reaching for my knife on my hip to sharpen my pencil or whatever, and I drop my pencil and I need to score a line on something, you know. It's just handy to have a blade. Small little shavings off of pieces of wood that aren't fitting quite together and you need to cut off just a hair. It's not worth going all the way back to the saw to do it, and sometimes just having a fixed blade, sturdy knife that you could pound on, beat on, pry on is pretty handy. And this one right here, this thing has a 1/4 inch thick spine right there and a wood rasp on the back of it, which I think is pretty handy too, you know, for cutting, shaping, forming pieces of wood together. That wood rasp is a pretty handy thing, and this thing comes razor sharp. Oftentimes these off-the-shelf knives don't come with very good edges and you need to do a little bit of work to them, but this is not the situation with this one. This one is razor sharp. I mean, it is hair shaven sharp right there. Not sure if you can see that, but hair shaven sharp right out the get-go, and that is nice. I mean, it's ready to work right off the shelf, out of the box, good to go. Now, a little bit disappointing, let's see if you can see this, is that chisel grind right there. The chisel grind has a secondary bevel. See that? See how it's got that secondary bevel going on right there? Which is less than ideal, and it's not that keen of an edge as far as chisels go. It's not that great. It doesn't chisel as well as I'd like it to, and I think it's because of that kind of blunted edge. Instead of just continuing that grind until it meets its final destination there, they put that secondary one on there, I guess, to beef it up, make it a little bit sturdier. But this is like a full flat grind right there. Full flat grind, and it has that secondary bevel on the blade edge, but that's not affecting how the knife works at all. That's working quite well, but that chisel grind not as good. So let's try this thing out and put it through its paces. It seems to have a full-tang of sorts, or mostly full-tang, just because I can feel it. I can feel the weight of the steel in that handle. I haven't put a magnet on or anything like that to see how far it goes back here, but I'm guessing it probably goes to somewhere in there. That's a pretty sturdy, pretty beefy, hefty blade. I mean, it's not a lightweight piece of kit at all. It is hefty. You could beat, you could pry, and you're probably not going to damage this thing in any way, if I would imagine so. And I don't know what kind of steel this is. Probably some sort of stainless. But let's try it out. Let's see how it works. The sheath is decent, I would say. It's kind of like a Mora knife sheath, plastic. Snaps in there pretty good. Decent retention. Not too shabby. Not great for chopping tasks. It's a small knife, of course. It's got quite a bit of weight to it, which makes you think that it would do a decent job of that small little chopping work. But that handle does not want to stay in your hand as you're chopping away. It's a little bit slick. Not very rubbery textured or anything like that. Like that. And there is my hammer. Now, something I do think is a little bit annoying is that angle on the chisel. See that? See how it's kind of pointed here and kind of slopes off that way? I'd prefer it just to be flat across like a typical chisel would be. Because when I'm using it, I've got to turn it kind of at an angle like that and hammer indirectly as opposed to straight into the wood. So, just being picky. I mean, it's doing the job. The chisel edge is not quite as keen as I would like it to be, but it does the job. I mean, you could see that. So it does some nice carving work right there that would be a little bit more difficult, well, significantly more difficult without a chisel. So just using a knife for something like this is definitely doable, but it takes a little bit more care, not quite as easy. Not quite as easy as just pounding a chisel through and knocking out those big chunks of wood. Now, for your general carving tasks, it's not too bad. I mean, like I said, it is pretty dang sharp right out of the box. But like, say for your push cuts, you know, where you use your thumb to kind of control the cutting motion, it does a good job of it, but it would definitely wear your thumb out. If you were doing any kind of extensive carving type work, that rasp, that wood rasp right there would wear a hole in your thumb for sure, unless you got hands of steel, you know, significantly tougher than mine. But you can use that rasp to shape the wood, which I think is pretty handy. You know, if you're making, I don't know, let's say a handle for your axe or something like that, you know, you're out in the wilderness and you've busted up your axe handle and you need to replace it. Having something like that is really nice to kind of do some fine work right there and really sculpt and shape the tool that you're working on. Now, one downside to that is you would need some sort of not file, but wire brush of some sort to clean that thing out, because if you're working with a rasp and you use it on wood, it's going to fill that thing up with wood, and then eventually it's not going to work very good. So you'd have to have a way to kind of clean that thing out. So using it in the field, using it in the bush, you know, in the woods, as far as you know, using the rasp goes, you'd have to carry another tool in conjunction with it if that was your plan, which I don't feel is that practical. Now the side of that rasp, would it strike a ferro rod? I think, while I do not have anything but a small little ferro rod on my neck, let's get that. Got this small little ferro rod on my neck. I'm positive that rasp would do the job. Oh yeah, quite big sparks, jagged scratches in your ferro rod, but definitely would do the job as far as striking a ferro rod or scraping tinder and, you know, things of that, barks off of trees. I'm sure that it would do the work. But yeah, I mean, this is a decent knife, and it is sturdy. I don't feel like this is something that I could break very easily at all. I mean, I probably could just hammer this thing straight into this log. I mean, I'm whacking that thing as hard as I can with this baton here. I'm not seeing any issues out of that handle whatsoever. I mean, I'm whacking that thing as hard as I can with this baton. The only thing I can do is get a bigger, heavier baton and really beat on the thing, but I've buried it over halfway into that wood. And that thing, that is a strong, look, I'm moving this whole heavy pine log. Big, heavy log, you know? I mean, there is no way you're gonna hurt this thing. That is a sturdy tool for sure. Let's get it out of there. I mean, that is a sturdy tool for sure. I mean, you could beat, pound, pry. I just don't think that you're really gonna hurt this thing. It's just so hefty. That 1/4-inch spine right there of the stainless steel is really, really tough. I mean, yanking on this thing to the side, I think you could probably pound it into a tree and stand on it and not break or bend the steel. So for that reason, I give it a thumbs up. Practical use in the field, would I prefer just a really good, you know, bushcrafty, everyday carry type knife, fixed blade knife, something with a Scandi grind or a convex grind on it? Probably so. Is it necessary to have such a hefty tool? Gosh, hefty tool in the woods? Is the chisel grind that valuable? I don't know, probably not. I guess it just depends on what you're planning on doing when you go out and about. I mean, if you're planning on wood crafting and stuff like that, having a chisel or just maybe even a dedicated chisel and a knife, 2 tools, because this is as heavy. This is as heavy as probably your regular, you know, your Mora knife and another chisel. So just carrying a dedicated tool to do the specific job as opposed to having the one tool to do all of the things. I really enjoy the concept of the one tool that does it all, right? But in reality, that's not necessarily the case because yes, while one tool can do just about all of the jobs, it's not necessarily as efficient as it could be if you had a specific tool to do that one specific job. So I don't know. Is the Camillus Swedge here a worthy tool? Yes, it's definitely a worthy tool. If you had one, it's $20 and they're super cheap. And for $20, it's a super good value. Having around the shop, you know, taking it to the job site and stuff, something you could beat on, pry on, use as a framing chisel, you know, when you need to get just rid of that small little piece of chunk of wood or something that's not fitting correctly. Having that rasp on there to shave off a little piece, pretty dang handy. Bushcraft tool, not bad, not bad. I give this tool a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you think about the Camillus Swedge. Is it useful? Is it practical? Is it something that you'd be interested in carrying around? Let me know about that in the comment section, friends. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave lots of comments. Any comment will do. If you don't feel like talking about the Camillus Swedge, tell me what your first car was. That's what I want to know today in the comment section. What was your first vehicle? Mine was a 1984 BMW 323i. I looked pretty cool in that car. I missed that car. But anyway, let me know what you think about that in the comment section, guys. The Camillus Swedge. Thumbs up, subscriptions, all the things. And until next time, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on 3. What do you guys think about going barefoot? Grounding, you know, being in tune, in touch with the earth. What do you guys think about that? Is it a thing? Is it a real thing? Is it some sort of hippie fad? I don't know. I like to go barefoot. I've been going barefoot my whole life. In summertime, I'm at home, around the house. Rarely do I have shoes on. You know, if I'm out and about and driving and stuff like that, yeah, I wear shoes. But if I'm at home, I'm barefoot almost all the time. I got some really tough hillbilly feet, you know. What do you guys think?